Welcome to Impact 2022. I am Nathaniel Watkins, and I'm here today to continue our conversation. For those of you who have been here before, you know this is our continuing conversation where we talk about all different types of topics from race, religion, cultural topics, what's going on in the news, all from a standpoint of religious standpoint. For me, because I'm a black male standpoint, and the standpoint of our guests and friends that join us from time to time on this show. As always, we say this is a continuing conversation, so feel free to type your questions into the comment section. If you have any questions or you have any comments that you would like to make towards the show that you want us to address, please feel free to type it in and we will address it as it pops up. And so, as we always do, we hop right into the topics at hand. And again, from time to time, we have guests that come on. This week is a guest-less week. So if anyone has any comments or questions to keep the conversation going, please feel free to join right in. And let's hop right into it. If any of you were here at the inaugural Impact programming or any of the inaugural Impact 2020 programming, you would have seen that we spoke extensively about issues of race, social justice or social injustice, and we particularly talked about violence against people of color, unarmed people of color being shot by police. And I'll tell you, it's funny, not ha-ha funny, but ironic funny, that we've talked about that less and less and less, yet the numbers of violence towards people has not gotten less and less and less. We had the large upheaval in 2020 where we had Black Lives Matter, other organizations, many people, young people going out into the streets and protesting against the violence against people of color by the police, the overreaching arm of the police, the aggressive nature of the police towards people of color. People of color being shot and beaten, unarmed, being harassed. Those type of issues were up and out front while people were protesting in 2020. And people were coming as aggressively as possible. And you saw the follow-up in 2021 as well, with legislation and changes being put forth. But just like we saw in, I'm a Star Wars guy. In Star Wars, you had the people win, and then you had the Empire strike back. The Empire had to strike back, or they struck back. And it seems like there was a wave of striking back against those pushes for, equal rights. When we're talking about our activities with the police, equal treatment. When we're talking about social justice and change. And so as we saw monuments go down, we saw names of schools and places changing. We saw Confederate flags being taken down off of state houses. Then we had the equal pushback or the aggressive pushback, however you want to look at it, of people with their CRT movement, their anti-Black history movement, coming back hard and aggressive towards people of color and the advancements that we have taken and characterizing us. When I say us, anybody who is looking for equal treatment regardless of color, coming back towards us and characterizing us as the bully in the fashion of we're making other people feel bad because we have been victimized, we have been harmed, and we have been hurt. But even with that, I'll say there has been a great duping. We've been tricked. We've been fooled. We've been, as the saying, run amok. Because what has happened is, and even with this program here, is that now we talk about something totally different from what we were talking about then, as if all of these great changes have occurred. It's funny. We were talking then about social justice and change. Now we're talking about the economy. We're talking about inflation. We're talking about what's going on in other countries with Ukraine, and talking about how much oil is costing in 1 minute and then not costing the next minute. We're talking about how much houses cost or how much houses should cost. I'm guilty of all of this because I've been talking about all of these things. And all the while, unarmed Black people are still getting shot by the police. And a ridiculously high rate. You don't believe me? Well, just think about it. And that's the thing. You don't see it as much. You don't see it as much. It's not really a big story as much. It was said that as soon as COVID was over and people were able to get back out, that it's going to go back to the way it was, where people they're not going to pay attention to when a Black person is just shot and killed for no reason. When a Black person is just shot for no reason by the police unarmed. We're not stuck in a house. It's not headline news anymore. And as much gain, as much traction as we think we made, no, we're focusing in on gas prices. We're focusing in on how much houses cost. We're focusing in on the economy. We're focusing in on the upcoming election. But what we're not focusing in on is on the social justice that we were pushing for just a little while ago. July, just in July, numerous unarmed Black men were shot. Some killed, some not. In Los Angeles, early July, unarmed Black man was walking with a metal piece of a car. Didn't look like a weapon at all. A metal piece of a car. The police gave chase to him. One of the police officers yelled, "He doesn't have a gun, bro," to the other cops. And yet he was still shot 3 times in the back while he was trying to get away. In the back, which is problematic already. I don't know why you're shooting somebody in the back who's trying to get away, but shooting an unarmed person who they knew was unarmed, because one of the police officers even yelled out to everyone way before he was shot that he was unarmed. Jermaine Pettit, shot in the back, Los Angeles. Early July. Isolated incident? Probably not, because also in July, in Ohio, 25-year-old unarmed Black man shot 60 times by the police in Akron, Ohio. Jayland Walker. In his car, the police gave chase to him. He kept driving, trying to get away. When they caught up, they decided to shoot him 60 times. Unarmed. We're going to circle back to that, Jayland Walker. And before anybody goes on some kind of tangible, he's probably a criminal, but no charges, no previous charges, no previous criminal history at all. Shot and killed. Okay. The one that is recent, that has actually been on the news, Columbus, Ohio. Police came in, served a warrant at 2:00 in the morning and killed Donovan Lewis, 20 years old, unarmed, in his bed. He was holding a vape pen. Trying to come in, serve a warrant, just decided, let's shoot up the place. Unarmed. All these happened in July 2022. So it's not slowing down. And let's circle back to Jayland Walker. He was the one that was in the car, 25-year-old man who was shot 60 times by the police, was in the car and was driving away when the police officers gave chase to him. So 8 different officers who were following him in vehicles. You sit back and you wonder, well, why did he run? Where was he? If he's not guilty, he doesn't have any priors. What's going on? Why is he running? Well, clearly, if you see from the actions of the other fellas, the actions of what occurred, this was in Akron, but what occurred in Columbus, getting shot, what occurred when someone doesn't even have a weapon in there, they're trying to move away, and clearly the police know they don't have a gun, and he gets shot in the back. And everything that's happened over the past couple of years that we've been seeing, and then everything that's happened over the entirety of these gentlemen's 20 years of existence, yeah, it makes sense to run when you see police. Because clearly there are some officers out here who are just trying to kill black people whenever they get an opportunity. And so before someone sits back and is like, well, why did they run? Because they know what was coming, which is the possibility of an officer just shooting because you're black. And we've been duped and fooled and have not been talking about these things. And these things have not been publicized the way that they were because we're worried about the economy, which I'm guilty of. We're worried about, the upcoming election, which I'm guilty of. We're worried about gas prices, housing prices. We're worried about wage inflation. We're worried about what's going to be the future of what's going on. We're worried about good things that have happened. Like, wow, we just had student loans cut. We're worried about all these other things and taking our eyes off the prize. The one thing that I've constantly said, if you've been here, you've heard me. I am a big person who is anti Christian people talking about abortion being bad. I'm strongly against that. I don't know. It's not in the Bible, and people keep saying that it is, and it gets on my nerves. And I always sit back and I say, well, what's one of the ways that you can fool people into doing what you want? You know, as Christians, we're supposed to be doing we're supposed to be doing the work of the Lord. We're supposed to be doing what it tells us to do in the Bible, loving one another, taking care of others, showing people the kingdom of God. What's the easiest way to distract? You get somebody to do something different. And just like instead of doing the work of God, you over here trying to be big time anti-abortion, and then you get put off track and you end up not doing the work you're supposed to be doing. I believe that to be true. That's you know, we can battle on that any time you want. But I believe that that's happening to all of us right now, or I'll say me, is that the work here is to concentrate on some of the things that have been going on of our people being Black people being killed by police, unarmed people being killed by police, young people not feeling safe or being safe. Forget feeling, not being safe in the streets when police officers come around. And we've been distracted from that by looking over here at our pockets, looking over here at our money, looking over here at what's going on. And we've been distracted from what was going on. In 2020, 2021, we were strongly looking at social justice and change. And now in 2022, we have been totally flipped and don't even talk about it. No one's talking about Black Lives Matter. We're not even talking about CRT anymore, ironically. We're not talking about race at all. And I think that we've been fooled. I've been fooled into looking over at something else when we need to keep our eyes on the prize. We're still getting shot. We're still getting killed, unarmed, at the same level. Comment. Once a police officer shoots and kills someone, particularly someone unarmed, they should be dismissed from the force. Once they've tasted blood, it will be easier the next time. Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And I understand, and I know how people are going to sit back and be like, well, it's the pressures, you get scared, it's in the moment, you got to make split-second decisions. Okay, I 100% understand that. If you made the wrong decision and you cost somebody their life, the least you could lose is your job because they lost their life. You know, we always make excuses and we always try to blame the person who was shot for whatever reason. There is no reason to bust up in somebody in 2022 with all the technology we have. There is absolutely no reason to be busting up into somebody's house, have your guns drawn, ready to shoot and fire to make an arrest. There's none. There's none. You cannot sit back here and tell me that there's a reason to do that. We have so many methods and ways of getting somebody to come outside to make an arrest. You can just take the time to wait until they come outside. Oh, well, they've been held up in the house for a couple of days. Okay, let's find a way to encourage them to come outside. Let's get them to the door. Have somebody knock on the door, delivering the pizza. Do whatever you got to do to get them to the door. But there is no reason in this day and time that we're serving warrants like that, where we're trying to bust into people's houses so that we can have excuses to kill. That is the only thing that is. That is an excuse to kill. When you're kicking in the door, if you're not kicking in the door because it's a hostage situation and you're trying to save somebody's life, you're kicking in the door to make an arrest. You're making an excuse to kill. And in this day and age, there is no reason anyone should be having their door kicked in to get arrested. And it's not a violent situation. It's not a situation where you're trying to save someone's life, where they're making a bomb and they're getting ready to blow up the whole city. They're not doing anything like that. There's no reason to kick in the door. And so we've been playing this game of, we looked at Breonna Taylor and what happened to her when they served a warrant and they came in and they called it a no-knock warrant because they decided to kick in the door and just shoot the place up. It's not that, maybe we shouldn't have came in at that late at night, or we got to announce ourselves as the police. We need to stop kicking in doors, period. If there's no urgency there, there's no immediacy there, we're not saving anybody's life. It's ridiculous because it's just excuses to kill people, because that's what it's going to result in. The NRA wants everyone to have guns. What are you supposed to do if you have a gun and somebody kicks in your door? That means you're exciting that. You're inciting that kind of violence. You want that to happen. The point of this whole conversation that we've been having here today, and that's a great comment. Thank you. I believe in that. I believe that once a police officer shoots and kills somebody, especially if they're unarmed, they should lose their job. I mean, it's not, even if you think, circumstances, whatever. Okay, that's the least that should happen. That's the least. Because if you shoot somebody unarmed, you need to go to jail. But there are maybe circumstances where you didn't whatever. But the least that could happen is that you can lose your job. You don't need to be on the streets. You can be the nice person in the world. Find something else. Be a security guard. Go join the army. Be in the military. But you don't need to be a police that's going out here working the streets. But we need to stay focused. And that's the whole purpose of what we're saying today. As I look back at it and I looked at the numbers of what was going on in 2022, and I look back at, we just recently have black male after black male after black male, black females too, brown people, whether they be black, Hispanic, whatever, people of color are consistently being killed unarmed, consistently being shot at unarmed, as if 2020 didn't occur. As if everything we did and everything that we talked about and all of the marching and all of everything was for naught. Let's remember that it wasn't going to magically disappear anyway. We haven't been fighting this fight just for 3 years, for 2 years. We've been fighting this fight for the entirety of Black people being here in the United States. And so I know that we are being distracted by everything that's going on, whether it's intentional or not. But we need to stay focused on we need to stay focused on what matters. And that's why that slogan means so much. Focusing on what matters, that Black lives matter. And that we need to understand that if we don't stay focused on it and we don't keep pushing on it and we don't keep reminding people of it, it goes right back to what it was. There is no excuse for these 3 men. And that's just three out of all the ones that have happened just this year. It's no excuse for these 3 men that have been shot and killed. And major changes have not been made and demanded. And so we need to continue to talk about those who are being shot. We need to continue to push for changes. We need to continue to put pressure on the police because things have not changed. Let's not fool ourselves. Things have not changed. And if you think somehow that 2020 and all of the monuments that went down and the name changes made a difference, tell these 3 men that. The one, he's still alive, who was shot 3 times in the back in LA, unarmed, walking away. Or the one in Akron, Ohio, or Columbus, Ohio. Tell them that things have changed. Tell them that it really mattered that we were able to take down some statues and change some names. We got to continue to demand more from the police. We got to continue to demand more from our politicians and leadership and leaders when it comes to changing these laws and these rules and making sure that when police officers are out here that they make the decisions, life or death decisions, that when it comes to Black people, that they're making the same life or death decisions that they're making when they see somebody who's white. When they see a young Black man or woman, that they're making the same decisions that they would if they saw an older male, female, Black, white, older person. We need to demand change and make sure that we get it, and not just we talk about it for a year and a half and then we just go on to the next new topic. Sports are back. That's the distraction. Sports are back. Wasn't here in 2020. Comment: the reason for the distractions is because some people don't want to face their sins. If they face their sins, they may be challenged to change. I like that. That's these distractions. Sometimes these distractions are put in your face, and sometimes they're voluntary. And I think that, for example, one of the biggest distractions, drugs and alcohol. That's, you don't want to face your realities, and you take drugs and alcohol to kind of put you in a different mind frame, in a different zone. Especially if you've done bad stuff or bad stuff has happened to you, you want to take something to make you forget. A lot of these addictive type situations, or these hallucinogens, or these things, that mind altering drugs to get you away, they distract you. And I think that's what we're doing right now. We're being distracted with our jobs and our sports and our vacations and different activities. We're being distracted from what we've been doing. And as much as we want to make other people guilty and saying, well, it's so bad that the police have done what they've done, I'm going to say, for me, and for whoever else may feel like me, it's so bad that we haven't done enough to keep these young men safe, these young women safe, these young people safe. We haven't done enough in the last couple of years where we thought we were making a little bit of a headway. We should have kept going, kept pushing, kept going a little further. And so that's on us. And so if you think, like, I think you agree with how, what I'm saying, I think we need to all do more. And we all need to make sure that we keep this front and center. Let's not forget. We were saying their names. We need to say their names again. We were pushing for legislation and pushing for change. We need to continue to do so. We got to continue to put pressure on those who can make the changes, because they have not been made. The same things are continuing to happen. All right. All right. Well, thank you for the comments. That's the topic for today. And as I've said it, we will have a more further debate on this. We will continue to talk about the changes when it comes to injustice, when it comes to police violence. We got to keep that front and center. We can talk about other things, but we can't forget to talk about this. We can't forget to talk about our young people. As I get older, as we all get older, we realize that it's not us that we're protecting as much anymore. We're protecting them. And so we need to do our job to make sure that we're protecting them, our future. All right. So thank you for everyone. Thank you for these comments. Thank you for everyone who has joined us. We will be here next week, just like we are always, at 8:00 on Tuesdays. Please feel free to join us on Thursdays for Thursday Thirst, the Bible study, and on Sundays here, YouTube, Facebook, and our website as well for worship service. This has been Nathaniel Watkins, and this is Impact 2022. Thank you for everyone who has come, everyone who has put in comments. Have a good one and a good day.